All right, thank you again to everyone for joining us this evening. We are excited to get started. My name is Denise. I am an admissions representative for the online Masters of Social Work program. I am here as a resource to give you guys information, answer any questions, walk through the admissions application process. If this is something you decide you want to move forward with, I'm going to go ahead and go over the agenda for today. So I will go ahead and introduce you to the faculty, why Mason's Master of Social Work. They'll discuss the mission and outlook, what makes this unique, curriculum details. Primarily, it is an asynchronous learning, the practicum education, learning outcomes, the stipend programs, admissions requirements, and Q&A. Before then, just want to let you know how you can participate. You have your chat. You can raise your hand. There's also going to be a section towards the end for Q&A. And I'll go ahead and introduce you to Dr. Daphne King. We have Jeanne Booth. She is not with us tonight, but then we have Melissa Hensley. She'll go ahead and discuss the practicum education portion. Dr. King, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am excited to be here with you all tonight. Thank you for joining us for our open house for fall semester. I am Dr. King. I am the program director for our online MSW program. I am also an assistant professor in the Department of Social Work. I primarily teach courses related to our clinical practice with children, youth, and family specialization. As well as the first course that students take when they enter the program, our Foundations of Social Work and Social Welfare. So I look forward to sharing this space with you all this evening.
Thank you for that, Dr. Daphne King. Melissa Hensley, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Melissa Hensley. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Department of Practicum Education program here in the Department of Social Work. It's great to be here. I look forward to talking with you a little bit about the practicum process and the requirements, and hope to work with you in the future.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and transition into social work and the mission and outlook.
All right, so the MSW program here at George Mason, our mission, our values encompass the values of the social work profession as outlined for us through our professional organization, the National Association of Social Workers. And so as you see on the slide here, our mission encompasses, the ideals of service and social justice, and really working to address the needs of those that have been historically marginalized and oppressed in our country, as well as those that are living in poverty. And as social workers, we work on behalf of and with these individuals to empower them to impact their communities as well. We look at how each individual is interacting within their own social environment, as well as society at large. And, again, our mission here in our MSW program encompasses those ideals of social justice, advocating for human rights, and service that are encompassed in the values of the social work profession and our professional organization, NASW. And as you can see from the statistics included here on this slide, the profession of social work is fastly growing. We are meeting the needs of mental health within our society as well. And so the profession of social work is, really slated to meet those growing needs of mental health services within our society. This next slide just features some information about what makes our program unique. Our online program has been ranked in the top 10 by Forbes as being one of the best online MSW programs of 2023. Our program also prepares students to apply for or sit for licensure within the state of Virginia. And for students that may enter in from other states as well. We do prepare you for licensure. One thing that we do have students make sure that they check is the licensing requirements for their particular state, but our program does prepare you to apply for and sit for licensure. We are accredited by the Council on Social Work Education, which means that we meet all of the criteria that they have set forth for a rigorous academic graduate program. We have faculty that come from very diverse areas within the profession of social work. We have faculty that are engaging in research and publishing, and students have an opportunity to engage with faculty and work alongside faculty with their research through our SWIRL lab, which is our social work integrative research lab. And so these are some things that make our program unique. This next slide just talks a little bit about our curriculum. And as it was stated earlier, our program is primarily asynchronous learning. So your classes are not necessarily scheduled for a certain time or a certain day, but there are due dates connected with each of your assignments. As the slide says here, our program is 60 credit hours for our traditional program for students coming in under advanced standing. And that means that you have a bachelor's of social work from an accredited university. That's 33 credit hours to complete. We have two specializations. One is children, youth, and families. The other specialization is adults and healthy aging. Within both of those specializations, students will engage in clinical work, as well as some macro or policy work to understand providing services to both of those unique populations across various stages in the life cycle. This slide also just features an example of what a course plan could look like. One thing to keep in mind is that for our traditional part-time program, our semesters are divided into 2 8-week sessions. And so students will take one course in each of those eight-week sessions. We do have an accelerated option where some students opt to take 3 classes a semester. So that means in one of those 8-week sessions, you will be taking 2 classes together. But what is laid out before you is just a sample of some of the courses that are offered within our program. As you know, we stated earlier, our program is primarily asynchronous. So you will engage in the courses according to your own schedule on your own time, just making sure that you submit the assignments according to the due dates as posted in your course. There are some courses, such as our practicum seminars, that do have a synchronous component to it. So you will have to log into Zoom at a certain time to engage in those class sessions. Some instructors will also offer synchronous class sessions that will give you an opportunity to engage with your faculty and classmates, again, via Zoom, in a little bit more of a structured setting. Your instructors will also offer virtual office hours. That is a time where students can meet with their faculty individually to talk about their assignments, their grade in a course, or any other items that may come up, or even just to connect. Students also have faculty advisors that will also offer, certain Zoom sessions to connect with your faculty advisor and receive support in that way. So while the program is primarily asynchronous, there are some synchronous components to help build community with our students and to connect and engage with students on a little bit more of a deeper level that isn't always possible in a virtual format. Now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
I guess taking myself off mute would be helpful. So the practicum is a large component of the program. We could talk about this for a very long time, so we'll try to keep it pretty succinct and go through the slides here. So just wanted to mention this as you're, thinking about coming into the program. We have actually just announced the change of our name for the internship program. So you may have heard about field education, and some universities are still using the term field. George Mason has switched over to practicum education. So we're the PEP department, or PEP team. And so really that's I'll just go through the points here, to elevate the experiential learning focus for the internship. It is a practicum, so it is hands-on applications of theories and concepts, and really is a combination. It's not just a matter of going in and learning one particular skill or one particular job in one particular setting. It is very, it's a comprehensive experience. And so you also will receive supervision from a social worker who's approved by the program and meets the accreditation requirements. There's a deliberate, structured, intentional, interactive learning experience that is your practicum experience. And so just wanted to let you know that we are the practicum education program. So you may see some places where field is still there, but we are transitioning to the practicum education program. So the practicum, as Dr. King mentioned, some of the classes are 8-week sessions, but your practicum is not. It is the signature pedagogy for social work education, and it is a full academic year. And it's really the opportunity to transform from, everything that you're learning in the classroom and through your coursework, and be able to put that into practice and see the social worker role, how it works in the agency setting, working with clients, client systems, and the community. And it's really to, again, provide that opportunity for you to apply your knowledge, skills, values, ethics, and everything that you're learning into professional practice. And so there is an evaluation component. Your practicum is comprised of both the practicum hours per week that you do at the agency. There's an evaluation there. There's also a seminar component of your practicum, and that is asynchronous for the most part. But as Dr. King mentioned, we do have a couple of sessions that are synchronous. The practicum seminar is technically, it's a class, but it is really designed for engagement, discussion, and kind of connecting all the dots. Students are in such a variety of agencies, and so, but you're all working on the same skill set, this same codes, the same standards. And so just want to make sure that you have that opportunity to really discuss that, bring any kind of ethical dilemmas, that sort of thing, to the class, and be able to connect everything together. The practicum is for the non-advanced standing track. There's two practicums, your generalist year and then specialization year. And when we say year, that means August through about the end of April, early May. So it's your traditional academic year, fall and spring semester. For your generalist year, from August through May, you'll stay at the same agency, and same seminar course as well. Your generalist year is a total of 450 hours. And so per semester, even though you'll stay at the same agency for fall and spring, it's 225 hours for the fall and then 225 in the spring, which breaks down to about 16 hours a week. It's the same structure and setup for specialization year, except it's 600 hours, which is 20 hours a week. So just wanted to highlight that first, because it is a very large time commitment. It is a lot of work. And just want to point that out, because sometimes, just be thinking about what that means for you, your schedule, your family. And so, just be thinking about that early on. We do work with students individually on identifying the agency, figuring out like what agency is going to be best for you, location. And I can talk about that in a minute. But during your 16 or 20 hours per week, if you're advanced standing, you'll go straight into your specialization year. But no matter what, you'll have an hour of weekly supervision with an approved social worker on site, or externally, but you'll have social work supervision. Students will also have to demonstrate competency in all areas. Programs may have macro only or micro only, but we really want to make sure that students have a well-rounded experience and have an opportunity to really practice at the micro, meso, and macro levels. It's really hard to be exclusive in any of those with a social work role. So just making sure that you're getting the most out of your practicum experience. And then for the generalist year, we sometimes describe it as like a bird's eye view, where you can really kind of see the social worker role, be able to, you'll still be interacting with individuals, families, groups, organizations, and communities, but maybe not so much of that will be direct service practice. It's about half and half. And then your specialization year would be a little more clinically focused, where about 75% of your time would be in direct service with clients and client systems. Most agencies are, your Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and to be able to be available during those times. We really want to make sure that students have the full experience, that you're able to participate in meetings, have access to your supervisors, and get the most out of that. However, we do realize that social work is 24/7. And so occasionally we will have partnerships or opportunities in places like crisis centers, shelters, hospitals that may have some alternative hours, but students, no matter where you're placed, students are expected to be available during the times of operation that the agency can offer for the practicum. Again, we do work with agencies wherever students are. We do have some remote opportunities as well. Ever since COVID, there's been a little bit of a shift for agencies to be able to offer some virtual and remote placements. However, we can't guarantee that. It just kind of depends on what's available. As social workers, we're always kind of changing and adapting to the community needs, but we do partner with agencies all across the United States, and we're always looking to add new partnerships as well. So sometimes if we're working with a student who's in a new state for us, definitely get out there and explore and see what's available. And we do our best to match with agencies that are going to be of interest and are going to help students in their long-term goals, but also, definitely keep it open mind is what your opportunities. We have hundreds of agencies that we're currently partnered with. And like I said before, we work with students individually to kind of match you with agencies that are going to help you be successful in your practicum and make sure that it's a good fit. Make sure that they meet the requirements and maintain the integrity for our program. And so a traditional placement, usually students don't have any relationship with that agency. So it'll be something new. And then we do have the employment-based practicum for students who may already be employed with a social services agency that may be able to provide the practicum opportunity for you as well. So we do have to go through an application process for that. But if you are currently employed with a social services agency, we'd be glad to talk about some options there. We need to make sure that they can meet the requirements of the program, provide the supervision and support that you'll need. And we really focus on making sure that students have the opportunity to be a student if it's an employment base, because sometimes it's very easy to kind of keep doing what you're doing, but you really need to branch out and grow and make sure that you're getting the most out of the MSW program and setting yourself up for success post-graduation. So I am going to add our email in the chat. And we are still in the process of updating our email. So it does say social work field, but that is our email for the Practicum Education program. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer here, or if you want to put them in the chat throughout the open house tonight, or if you want to send us an email, we'd be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Melissa. And I'm gonna back to you, Daphne, Dr. Daphne. Didn't I go?
All right, so this next slide just talks a little bit about, some of the roles that social workers may engage in various areas within the field of social work. And this is just a snapshot. This is not an exhaustive list of just the various roles that social workers engage in. But some of them listed here include family services, working in child protection, which I started my career as a social worker in, working in foster care and adoption, housing, homelessness programs, health and mental health practice. And again, you know, our public school systems, social workers are working in counseling centers at universities, working for various companies, working in entrepreneurial pursuits. So it is a very vast field and very diverse with the roles and areas that social workers fulfill. So one other thing that makes our program here at George Mason unique is that we have 2 stipend programs. And our stipend programs are a way for students to engage in some additional training, as well as to receive some additional or funding for their graduate school education. So the first program is the Child Welfare Stipend Program. With this particular program, students will receive some specialized training specifically to work in the public child welfare arena. Students within the CWSP program will receive a $10,000 stipend per academic year, but there is a work requirement connected to that. So once you graduate, I believe it's within 6 months, you would have to secure employment with a Virginia Department of Social Services. We do have a coordinator for the Child Welfare Stipend Program that will work with you on, you know, finding that employment, on securing a practicum. Students can apply for the CWSP at any stage in the program, generalist and specialization. Then our second stipend program is our behavioral health program, or CAP-BH. This program specifically was created to address the behavioral health workforce shortage by providing some more specific training to MSW students to be able to address complex issues like untreated trauma and exposure to violence. This particular stipend program also comes with a $10,000 stipend. There is not a work requirement for this stipend program. However, students can only apply to this program when they are going to start their specialization courses. So these are our 2 stipend programs that are available within the Department of Social Work.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Daphne King. I will go ahead and discuss now the admissions process before we get into our Q&A. The steps for the admissions is we do have some prerequisites. You would have to have a bachelor's degree with a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. We will also need a transcript. We'll need a resume, and any volunteer work you have done, please include in your resume. We'll also need 2 letters of recommendation, a personal statement. Usually you would start that by addressing social work justice. And also, as far as the classes for prerequisites, you do need to have had taken a statistics class, an English composition course, a government 101, history or government course, and a social science course. If you have not had a statistics course, you can take one through GMU to satisfy this. And there's also another way you can satisfy that is a supplement through LinkedIn, which we would provide you that information if that's a route you wanted to go. If you have any questions regarding these steps, as far as like start dates, application materials, anything like that, please reach out to an admissions representative. If you don't know who your advisor is, I'll be sharing the main number on the final slide. Your advisor will be able to address anything you are missing as far as like application fees, start dates, any questions you have. Now let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A. Go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat and we'll be more than happy to address those. I'll leave this slide here while we go over the Q&A. You can grab that number. I'll go back to the other one with the admissions process so we can go over the questions that you guys have. Let's see. One of the questions is, what is the committee looking for in regards to application?
So, the committee is really looking for all of these items that are listed on this slide to be addressed. You want to make sure that you have that minimum GPA or provide an explanation if your GPA is lower. With the personal statement, you want to make sure that you are addressing each of the prompts. One of the prompts, I think, asks more about your personal aspirations, but then the second one specifically asks you to identify a social justice issue, and you really want to make sure that you are addressing both of those prompts, because those prompts also let us know what you understand about the profession of social work and advocating for social justice.
Okay, thank you. Another question, what kind of students do you typically see are coming into this degree? Like, what are the similar backgrounds you see?
In all honesty, I see students coming from all walks of life. I really can't pinpoint, a quote unquote typical student. We see students that have come the traditional route where they've, finished undergraduate and are moving directly into grad school. We see students that have taken 10 or more, or even 20 or more years away from school, and they're now coming back. We see students that are career switchers. So it really varies.
Okay, thank you. And in reference to having a lower than the minimum GPA, do you recommend, aside from the explanation that you mentioned, that they take a course or more work experience to give them a better chance at being accepted to the program?
We have had some applicants that may have had a lower GPA that did take some additional coursework or take some additional courses to show that they could handle the rigors of a graduate school. Have had some applicants to, really demonstrate an understanding of working in the profession of social work through volunteer work. So really it depends on the totality of the application. It's not just isolated with one factor, but it's really looking at all of the factors combined.
Okay, thank you. Another question, are there additional scholarships available?
So one of the things with graduate school is that it is often not as many scholarships available as you would find for undergraduate. If you go to our college, the College of Public Health, there is scholarship information available there. Some of that scholarship information is geared towards students that are already admitted into one of the programs within the College of Public Health. I believe George Mason University, also has scholarships available, but again, those would be things that you would be looking at, once you were accepted or admitted. I do know that the National Association of Social Workers have, a scholarship program, but honestly, when it comes to graduate school, it really is a little bit more challenging to find scholarships. And that is something that you just may want to research on your own or start thinking about how you're going to fund your, graduate school education. Again, we have the two stipend programs available in the department, but it would really be up to you to look at what else is out there and available to fund your graduate school education.
Thank you. Another question that I have is, how important is having a research background in undergrad when applying to the program?
Having a research background is not a requirement. As I said earlier in tonight's presentation or open house, that we do have a research lab, but any student can apply to be a graduate research assistant, to work in the swirl lab, and you don't need to have research experience to do that. It definitely, is a benefit, but it's not a requirement.
Thank you. And is the admissions process different for advanced standing?
The advanced standing process is a little bit different. The GPA requirement is a little bit higher. So for advanced standing, you need to have a 3.2 GPA. You have to have a bachelor's of social work from an accredited university. And you also have to submit your BSW practicum evaluation as part of that process. There are 2 steps to the advanced standing application process. One is completing the application materials, but then the second piece is an interview if you are invited to interview. So the advanced standing is a little bit of a different process.
Okay, and the next question is, what are the deadlines for application, and are there multiple term start options? I can answer that, Dr. King, if you would like. It's going to be dependent on the start term. And yes, we do have 3 start terms. We have our spring term, which usually starts January. We have our summer term, usually starts in May. And then we have our fall term that usually starts in August. Usually the deadlines for everything is a month beforehand. That gives you enough time to get everything in, and it gives the admissions department enough time to review and make sure you have all your ducks aligned for that. And if there's something that you need to submit, you have plenty of time to take care of that. As far as, like, for example, our next term is the fall term. Classes start August 26th. And then we have our spring term that we just opened. Classes start January 13th. And as far as like deadlines to have everything into us for the online program, for fall, you would have to have everything in by July 1st. And then for the spring term, we'd like for you to have everything in by December 1st.
So the July 1st deadline for fall semester is for advanced standing. There is a different application deadline for anyone applying for the traditional part-time program. But the July 1st date is the date for advanced standing. I believe for fall semester, the application deadline is either August 1st or August 15th.
Yes, August 1st for the regular one. That is correct. Another question that I have, what skills are being learned in the program?
So, the program, of course, is preparing students to practice as professional social workers. So you are learning those basic skills that, social workers possess. You are learning about the profession of social work, our core values, our ethical principles and standards, learning about engaging with clients on all levels, or engaging with individuals on all levels. There's learning about policy and how policy practice influences or impacts the services that we provide. So the skills are really being built so that students can practice professionally as a social worker.
Thank you. There's no more questions. Not sure if you have any words of wisdom you would like to give the students that joined us tonight.
I would definitely say, really make sure that you have, given some, serious thought and consideration to the start of grad school. It is a rigorous process. And so you want to make sure that you have, considered how your life may be impacted, how your schedule may be impacted, what things you may, need to shift in your time and in your schedule to start graduate school, to make sure that you have enough time to engage with all of the coursework, and that you have, time when it's time to start practicum. Definitely, look at things that you do to engage in self-care. That's going to be very important, once you're in the program. But I really would say making sure that you're looking at how you may, need to adjust certain things in your life related to time, because it is a time commitment. I don't know if Melissa has anything she would like to add.
I second everything. Yeah, no, it's a very intense program, but it's also very fast. It probably doesn't feel very fast while you're in it, but when you get out of it, when you finish and graduate, you look back and it goes very, very quickly. There's a lot of great connections to be made, especially with online students. There's ways to connect. And so because it's asynchronous, there's a lot of ways to really get to know your classmates and, develop those lifelong connections, friendships, colleagues, all of that. So I noticed that for sure in the last few years that students are very connected. There's a lot of opportunities if you're local and online. There's opportunities to participate on campus. And I agree with everything Dr. King said. So
There is one question related to practicum, if you can use the same agency twice.
yeah, so sometimes that does come up. A lot of that depends on the agency, and when it comes down to it, what we're looking for is making sure that there's room to grow. So occasionally we see that more often with larger agencies where there's more departments to kind of spread out, try something new, work with new clients, work with new supervisors, gain new perspectives, new skill sets. Some of the skills that students are working on, in addition to engagement, is assessment, interventions, evaluations. So all of those skill sets, making sure that you are developing that and not just repeating more of that for a second year. So, we look at all of the factors. What is the agency? What kind of learning opportunities are they going to provide? And if it seems like a sound arrangement, then we can consider that.
And yes, you do have to have a BSW for the advanced standing option. There is no other substitute or any other major that can be substituted for advanced standing. It has to be a BSW. And that requirement is given to us by our accrediting body, the Council on Social Work Education. So that is not something that, we would change or substitute. In order to be considered and apply for advanced standing, you do have to have a BSW. And I think there was one question about the tuition for the program.
As far as the tuition, it will vary if it's online or if it's on campus. So I'll definitely tell you what the cost is per credit hour for the online Masters in Social Work. The total program is going to be dependent on your personalized course plan. So if you did part-time, it'd take you 10 semesters. Like to always state that full-time would be 8 semesters. It is a total of 60 credit hours. The credit hour per hour is $795. Per course would be $23.85. So looking at currently, the tuition plan for this upcoming year would be $49,860. That does include your fees as well. There's other questions that have come in. I don't think we have any other questions at the moment. I do have the number for you guys to call if you wanted to contact one of us in the admissions department, the email address as well. We'd be more than happy to address any other questions if you think of anything after this virtual open house.
I think the total that was provided was for the entire time in the program. I believe the 49,000 was for the entire program, not just for 1 year.
Yes, it's for the entire program, all 60 credit hours for the regular Masters in Social Work. The advanced standing, if you were coming in with that BSW, the tuition for that one would be $27,450, including your fees.
And advanced standing is 33 credits to complete over 6 semesters. The advanced standing is, a little bit of a shorter time because you are coming in to the program ready to start your specialization courses. And that's what really advanced standing means. Advanced standing means that you've received, instruction as a Bachelor of Social Work student, and that you're ready to start your MSW program with your specialization courses. And so some of those generalist courses our advanced standing students wouldn't take. You would be starting ready to start your specialization courses. And so it is 33 credits. And so I do want to make sure that I made that distinction, because advanced standing is not necessarily connected to the time to complete the program. Advanced standing is more so about the fact that you have a bachelor's in social work and you're ready to begin more advanced coursework as a master's student.
I don't see any other questions coming in. I think we can go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Again, the number's there and the email address. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you, Dr. Daphne King, and thank you, Melissa, for joining and helping with the presentation.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a great evening, everyone.